Hello, 8th grade. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, which I don't think I could pull off because of a lack of self-confidence in my capacity to sing if you're actually in class. This way I'm only singing to my computer, and therefore that self-consciousness will not be as much of a problem. Today, your instructions are quite long. The instructions are not any different than the previous days in terms of what you're supposed to do, but they include texts which I would like you to use in today doing your work. And I want to teach you a song. This song I first learned for the first time when I was living in Israel. I was learning a yeshiva called the Tif Meir, which is in Bayit Pagan. I was in ninth grade, and one day the Rebbe took us out to expanse of grass in Har Herzl, which is right next to the Bayit Pagan, and he sat us down and he taught us this song. And a song which, some things stick and some things don't stick from your Korean education. Most of the things will not stick. Most of what remains is an aura, a special feeling, and a few things stick here and there which make an impression on you. And this is one of the things which stuck with me. So the song is here, and I'm going to sing it and translate it. Now, the song was written in 1907 by Rabbi Avrohom Eliyahu Kaplan. He was my hero. He lived from 1889 to 1924. He died very young, at the age of 34. And he was one of the great lights of the Musar movement. And this song is considered to be a great light of the Musar movement as well. And it was sung in the Musar yeshivas for many, many years. There are not many Musar yeshivas left now, so I don't know how many people are singing it. But it is a well-known song, and it has a specific nigun, which is not necessarily original. We don't know if it is. You know, Rabbi Avrohom Eliyahu wrote nigunim. We don't know if that's nigun from the song is original or not, but there's a certain way in which it's sung. So first, let's translate. Shaka chama, it's the instructions. I hope you see the song. I'm looking at it right now. Shaka chama shaka nafshi. The sun has set, my soul has set. Bidhom yirgona harav kayom. In the depths of its anguish, which is vast like the sea. Ki omdo lipol hi b'milchamto, because it is about to fall in its battle. Es habasar v'es adam, with flesh and blood. Yomai ovrim, yomai kolim. My days go by, my days are destroyed. Bibli kachas, or I should say my days end. My days pass, my days end. Bibli kachas mibli tes, without taking and without giving. Imuzos karas achayim, if this is what you call life. And morna keli ma zemes, tell me Hashem, what is considered to be death. Chusa keli kilo eda, have mercy upon me Hashem, because I do not know. Echocha kol lichios, how can I live this way? I am mishkoach kol usmoach, to forget everything and rejoice, or lizkor kol ubchos, or remember everything and cry. Acheni keli nolamachar, leave me alive, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, till tomorrow. Ulayaftoras hachalom, perhaps I will be able to interpret the dream. Shakachama avim boim, the sun has set, clouds are coming. Laila ola min hatom, darkness rises from the depths. Okay, now I'm going to sing it for you. Shaka chama, shaka nafshi, bisom yegona, harav kayam, kiyom dali pol hi b'milchamta, es abosor v'es adam, kiyom dali pol hi b'milchamta, es abosor v'es adam. Yomai ovrim, yomai kolim, mibli kachas, mibli setes, imozos kagos achayim, emona keli, mazemes, imozos kagos achayim, emona keli, mazemes, chusa keli, kilo eda, echa uchal, kol lichyos, hayim lishkoach, kol usmoach, all is kor ha-kol uchos, hayim lishkoach, kol usmoach, all is kor ha-kol uchos, Achyeini keli no lemachar, ulai yeftor es hachalam. Shakachama avim baim, laila ola min hatam. Shakachama avim baim, laila ola min hatam. This was written by Rabbi Avrohom Eliyahu Kaplan in 1907, and it was when he was 17 years old. And the song is supposed to express, the reason why it became so popular was it was supposed to express the yearning and sometimes despairing yearning of a youngster, a teenager, to find the answers to life's issues, to life's problems, and to forge a way forward. So this obviously spoke to many teenagers in an era which teenagers actually did some thinking and contemplating. You will also become thinking, contemplating teenagers, and you will write similar poems or use such poems in order to express your desire to find your yearning, your quest to find your mission in life. Remember Viktor Frankl. Okay, now we further in this same lesson plan and instructions, you have a diary entry from Rabbi Avrohom Eliyahu Kaplan, and this is the sefer which has his thoughts on things other than in learning Gemara, which is a couple of separate svarim. This is what he looked like probably towards the end of his life. It's not a bigger picture. It's the only one which is in circulation. And in this sefer Ikvos Hayira, there are poems and songs which he wrote, and most of what he writes later in life is much more exuberant and positive, as opposed to kind of despairing and seeking, as Shaka Chama seems to indicate. And therefore, I put down here a piece which I translated from his diary. The diary is written in Hebrew, and this has to do with coming to Slobodka. Slobodka was the primary Musar yeshiva in Lithuania, which later mostly moved, not completely, to after the war to Hebron in Eretz Yisrael. After a massacre in Hebron in 1929, it relocated to Yerushalayim, where it still exists, Yeshivas Hebron. It's probably the most elite yeshiva in the world, at least within the top few. And the people who were left in Slobodka in Lithuania when most yeshiva moved to Eretz Yisrael were continuing to comprise a Slobodka yeshiva, and there is still a Slobodka yeshiva in Bnei Brak, which is a direct descendant of those who, so to speak, stayed behind in Lithuania, as opposed to the Hebron yeshiva, which is descendant of those who moved to Eretz Yisrael. By the meantime, Rabbi Avrohom Eliyahu was learned in Slobodka, and this was a major influence in his life. And as you could see, going through, how excited he was to pass people and to get there, to pass people, and then he become annoyed. Why am I not meeting, the people who I really know, who I really want to say? And people came over, and Rabbi Yecheskel Sarner comes over. I'm reading along with you as you should be reading inside. And Rabbi Yecheskel Sarner comes over, who was one of the Musar greats of that generation, who was the Rosh Yeshiva later in Hebron in Yerushalayim. And he said, the way he puts it in this paragraph is powerful. He was yearning to tell Yecheskel about what happened to him in the summer months when he was away from Slobodka. In the end, I told him all that transpired within me. After I finished my account, I suddenly saw it was all emptiness. I'd only taken leave of Slobodka for 2 months. I'd imagined that it had been a long time, because in the meantime I had ample time to pass through several new segments of life and events. Now, after I had told him all these things over the course of a few minutes, I suddenly realized it was all nothingness. There was no significance to those entire 2 months. The essence of it was that I had bathed in the sea, gone on vacation, turned to Slobodka, nothing more. Indeed, fools, what will you learn? Then, the next day, he meets the Alter from Slobodka. The Alter was one of Slobodka's most beloved, if not the most beloved Talmud. And Alter from Slobodka was, of course, the head of the yeshiva. It was not the Rosh Yeshiva. The Alter means the elder. And this is a term that the Bali Musar gave to the leader of the yeshiva in terms of its spirit and its spiritual character, as opposed to the Rosh Yeshiva, who was in charge of the intellectual and academics. I hope you're all writing down as usual, things, even though I don't say silly to write them down. And then he goes on and says he's going to meet the Alter Slabodka, and the Alter Slabodka says that something about Elul, which is of course the month in which everybody's supposed to do tshuva, and then he contemplates, am I a Reish Shamayim? Am I a Elul seeker? And some discussion goes on about Rabbi Avrohom Eliyahu and his friends about the Alter from Slabodka, and there's a little bit difficulty translating it, and there's this beautiful discussion of the Alter Shmuz. That evening I heard a shmuz. He, the Alter, stood in the middle of the small room next to the table, and around him they gathered. The students packed together. They yearned to hear and to understand. They gazed with eyes partly happy and partly anxious. A decent number of young men, and immediately my heart began to absorb the warmth. It was a time of true and thorough pleasantness. Every matter is clear, every thought succinct, and every movement measured. The entire experience bespeaks tranquility and sincerity. There is no confusion nor haste. He stands before us and states his complaint. People outside Slabodka lack a belief in Musar. They do not acknowledge in the power of Musar. They do not acknowledge that young men here genuinely involve their hearts more or less in the subject of Yiras Shamayim. Though he tries to impress this upon them, they remain adamant. They claim it is all superficiality, verbal pilpul, intellectual gymnastics, and an empty and muddled waste of artificial ideas. Immediately after this complaint, he consoles himself. In the final analysis, it is the lack of appreciation that provides all the contentment that there is in Musar. If Musar was not a hidden thing that the world does not recognize, it would be entirely worthless. It would stand only on the same level as lamdonus, as a tool of public discourse. Let us be grateful to those who indict Musar. It is because of them that we have little that the little that we do is genuine and modest. In Hatznei Aleches, Tznius. After all, no matter how much positive publicity Musar receives, all that publicity achieves is that people will not mock Musar, not complain against it. To recognize and believe in its depths, its panemius, and the education parts of which Musar deals, all that will not happen. Then he says, the Alter complains again. He says, we immediately after this consolation that we followed his original complaint comes another complaint. We have acquired something. We feel inside ourselves the traces of impression Musar has made upon us. However we analyze the impression deeply, we realize that it has only come about because we habitually steer our thoughts in that direction. In other words, we do things out of habit. We don't actually think things through. Our minds constantly review the realizations they have absorbed from the words of Chazal and the Rishonim. Because of this habit, our hearts have been conditioned to identify the negative components that Torah perceives as evil in any situation. Natural heart then distances itself from that situation because it has become conditioned to thinking of it as base. In other words, we think of things which are negative, but bad as bad, but not because we have Yiras Shamayim. In other words, it is not because I fear the sin that I avoid it, but rather because it's unpleasant for me to get involved in something that I've already become conditioned to hear of and consider as sin. If, however, some powerful issue overcame that unpleasantness, then I might no longer distinguish between good and bad, and I would do what my heart desired. I contemplated. This is the crux of the matter. Then, subsequently, there are other paragraphs here. The most important paragraph, perhaps, is not one which I inserted, about the blades of grass and how walking on blades of grass is, which each blade of grass has a malach, how that is supposed to impact upon a person. I would like you to do a couple of things. Those of you who are capable of doing this, I'd like you to figure out if the song impacts upon you emotionally or not, and how it impacts upon you emotionally. Is it something which is moving and meaningful to you or not, and why? Then I'd like you to summarize this article really, it should only take a few sentences. What in this article speaks to you, if anything? Don't read it to understand fully because it's very deep. But please read it and see what Musar can mean to you. And if you're not able to write personally how this impacts upon you emotionally, this article, then at least write down some interesting lessons. Write 3 interesting lessons that you learned from this article. Okay, again, if you can, write about the song, how it impacted upon you emotionally, write about how it impacted emotionally. If not, then write about what the song, the content of the song. What is the song saying? About the rest of the article, if you can, talk about how it impacts upon you, what impression you receive emotionally from it, do that. If that doesn't work for you, then write down 3 points in the article which you can take away, which are profound to you, and hopefully meaningful to you, but are certainly significant. Okay, I hope this alternative way of doing the lesson, and I hope my voice, my lovely singing, were tolerable. Have a good day.